revision sheet for test 2. Now question number 9 is a doozy. It's very, very difficult, and it takes a lot of stuff to think about it. Now there are 3 main steps that you need to follow. The first is you need to find the fixed costs and the capacity. After you've done that, you're going to go ahead and look for the total revenue equation and the total cost equation. And in order to do these, you're going to have to use the slope function. And then the final step is you're going to find the break-even point. And once you've done all 3 of these, you should be able to answer most of the questions that are presented. So let's go ahead and look at this graph. The first thing is we're going to look at the fixed costs. Now the fixed costs is where the total cost graph starts. So right here, this point is my fixed cost. Now the next thing is we're going to look at the capacity. Now remember, the capacity is the maximum quantity. So the maximum quantity can be found by looking at your x-coordinate for the end points. So this right here is the capacity. Now I've already done 1. 2 takes a little bit more work. You need to find the slope. We're going to start with the total revenue equation. Now remember, the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now the total revenue equation has 2 main points. The first point right here is 11,100. And then the next point, if you follow this line all the way down, is the point 0, 0. So when we use it in the slope formula, we're going to do 11100 minus 0 over 148 minus 0. Now to do this, we're going to go ahead and get out our calculator, and we're going to start by putting a fraction. 11100 minus 0 divided by 148 minus 0. And we get that the slope is 75. Now this is really kind of important because this 75, this right here is the selling price. So the formula for total revenue is TR equals 75Q. Now we're going to do the exact same formula and the exact same process for total cost with one slight change. So total cost, the first point is 148,10545. And then we go down and it meets at 1665. But the point is that the x-coordinate, or the quantity, when the quantity is 0, you still have to pay 1,665. So we put that into our slope equation. 10545 minus 1665 divided by 148 minus 0. And we'll put this into our equation as well. So we have fraction 10545 minus 1665 divided by 148 minus 0. And we get that our unit variable cost is 60. So our formula for total cost equation is 60Q. However, you do have to add in your fixed cost, plus 1665. Okay, so we've done fixed cost, capacity, total revenue, total cost, and the last thing we have to do is break even. Now, break even, we're going to use our unit contribution margin. So 1665 divided by 75 minus 60. Once again, get out our calculator. 1665 divided by 75 minus 60, and we get that our quantity is 111. Now, once we get the quantity, we still have to plug it back into our total revenue equation to get the dirhams. So total revenue is 75, and we're going to plug in what we just found, 111. So 75 times 111 is 8325. All right, now we can label our graph. Our graph should be right here. and the point is 111, comma 8325. And the good news is, now that we have all of our data, we have the quantity, which should be right here. 111 is our Q, and our dirham should be right here at 8325. We can solve all of the questions. Now first, how much is the fixed cost? We did that up in step 1. The fixed cost is 1,665 dirhams. What is the capacity? Once again, we solved it at the beginning, 148 units. What is the selling price? Okay, we did that when we did total revenue, and we got the selling price is 75 dirhams. What is the unit variable cost? Well, that was when we did total cost equation, and we get the unit variable cost is 60 dirhams. So you see how by solving and doing the steps first, that'll give us everything that we need to solve the equation. Go ahead and move this up a bit, but I swear we can still see most of the questions. What is the total revenue equation? We'll figure that out. TR equals our selling price, 75, times our quantity, which is unknown. What is the total cost equation? Total cost is 60, the unit variable cost, times the quantity, plus the fixed cost, 1665. And then what is the break-even point in units? This is where we did our unit contribution margin, and we got 111 units. Okay, we'll move this up even more. What is the break-even point in dirhams? When we plugged it back into the total revenue equation, we got 8325 dirhams. Now, what is the break-even point as a percentage of capacity? This is where we actually do have to do some math. You have to put the quantity we found over the maximum quantity, or the capacity. So the quantity we found for break-even was 111, and the capacity was 148. We multiply that by 100, and for this we're going to go ahead and get our calculator again. Fraction 111,148, and then times 100 to make it a percentage, and we get 75%. What is the maximum revenue for the period? Okay, so if we come back up here to our maximum revenue, this right here, this is the max revenue. This is our maximum cost, because this is our maximum in quantity. So the maximum revenue for the period is 11,100 dirhams. The maximum cost, 10,545 dirhams. And the last question is, what is the net income at 100 units? For this, we're going to use the net income equation, the second one that we have. The selling price minus the unit variable cost times the quantity minus the fixed cost. The selling price we found was 75. The unit variable cost we found is 60, and it's asking us specifically at 100 units. So we're going to replace Q with 100, and our fixed cost was 1,665. We're going to put this into the calculator exactly as we see it. So 75 minus 60 times 100 minus 1,665 gives us a net income of negative 165 dirhams. So in other words, we're going to have 165 dirham loss, which we expect, because when we look at the graph, we see that at 100 dirhams there is a loss. We are still in the loss section of our graph.